Hi letterers, it's Margaret from the Lettering Lodge. As you might have seen from today's title, the tutorial I am filming today is different than most of my videos so far. One of my most popular blog posts on thelletteringlodge.com has been my roundup that I did of my favorite free brushes for Procreate. In that post, I have 15 brushes that I use all the time, and I do have a couple images in that post to show you what those brushes might look like, but I thought a video might be even better. So today I'm going to demonstrate those 15 brushes that are on that blog post so you can decide which ones are worth your time. Hopefully all of them, I thought so, but we'll see if you agree. Here we go. The first brush on that list is the Perfect Drills brush from ipadlettering. This brush is bundled with some iPad lettering practice sheets, so if you're interested, I have the link in that blog post and also in the description of this video. Here's how this brush writes. The downstrokes are thicker and upstrokes thinner than a lot of brushes. This has a lot of difference between those pressure settings, so they're really good for those iPad lettering practice sheets. The next brush on my list is the Durango brush from Holly Pixels. This is her free brush that she offers, and here's how that one writes. The upstrokes look similar to the last brush, but the downstrokes are not quite as thick. Trying to get warmed up, guys, my lettering, so that it looks the way you are expecting it to look. Okay, the next brush on my list is the Rad Happy Brush. I think this one, if I had to choose just one brush for you to download, this might be the one. I love all of them. I would not have included them on this list. They're all, if I didn't love them, they're all wonderful. But if I had to narrow it down and pick one that I use the most often, it's this Rad Happy brush. I just tend, I don't know what it is even, but I tend to get better results, at least with my style of brush lettering. I like the results with this brush even better than some of the other ones. So there you go, Rad and Happy. Let's see. The next one on the list is the Gracie Brush from ipadlettering. This is the same designer, blogger, that kind of thing as this Perfect Drills brush. So this is the Gracie Brush from her, and it's more rounded. This one's pretty different than the ones I've done so far. So depending on what kind of project you're doing, that might be what you're looking for. I think the Gracie brush is maybe the first brush I downloaded when I got my iPad and the Procreate app. So I used it a lot towards the beginning. The last brush in the brush calligraphy portion of my blog post is the Lemonade brush pen. And I don't know if you can tell the where you pick up your pen, the taper on that is different on this brush than most of the other brush lettering pens I've seen for Procreate. So it just depends on what you like. It tends to keep it thicker, whereas some of these other ones, the taper on the ends goes really a lot thinner and doesn't seem to have any fading of the color, whereas the Lemonade brush, I know it's subtle, but it tends to fade off a little bit more. Okay, so let's go on. I've got my next section is my six favorite brushes for other types of lettering, and the first brush on that list is the Shady brush from halfapx. Let's see, where is that? Oh, it's still in my brush lettering list, even though I added it to a different section, and I think you'll see why. You can definitely use it for brush lettering, but I tend to pick it up when I'm doing different styles just because of the shading that it gives. That's an easy way to add a little bit of visual interest. The next brush on the list is the Sign Marker Brush by Alexis Gentry. That one is in my other favorites. Alexis Gentry has a ton of free brushes, so definitely check her out. The Sign Marker Brush is more like if you were writing with an actual marker, like a Sharpie. Oh, let's make that thicker so you can tell what's going on here. It's also got a lot of texture to it. And the edges, can you tell? It's really like you're using a Sharpie, like a marker that is wider than it is tall, or however you want to say that. The edges definitely are reminiscent of using a wide Sharpie. The next one on the list is the Copycat Brush. This one's also by Alexis Gentry. I think it's back on this list, yeah. And so it's similar to the Shade Brush by halfapx, but it looks glittery, guys. If you like the shading, the glitter, all of that, that brush might be something. And I've been doing mostly brush lettering, but obviously these can look really good with other types of lettering as well. Alright, so next is the Shady Lady brush, also by Alexis Gentry. Mine says Shady Lady 2. I don't know if that means there's a Shady Lady 1 or not, but this one is similar, but it has a little bit of texture to it and is not glittery. It's also similar to the Gracie brush as far as the rounded out edges. Okay, so then we've got, what's next? Next on my list, I just put any mono weight brush. If you've played around with iPad lettering at all, you might have realized that mono weight brushes are kind of, once you have one, you don't really need more than one. I have 3 here just because they came in bundles with other things that I've downloaded, but this Rad and Happy one I tend to go for a lot. The mono weight means, in case you didn't already know, that no matter how hard or soft you press your marker to the page or your brush to the page, it's still the same width. You're not going to get those thick and thin strokes. So I use this for, I like how it looks with brush lettering. Depending on the piece I'm doing, it's creates different visual interest to have some thick strokes and thin upstrokes, and then some like this where it's all mono weight. But then also, if I'm just doing print letters, if I'm adding serifs, if I want to just do a straight line across my page, I use mono weight brushes. I use mono weight brushes for every project I do for different types of things. So the last brush in, let me just clear that layer. The last brush in that section of my blog post is the technical pencil, which comes on Procreate. A lot of lettering artists sketch their projects out before they get started on working on details, spending more time. And so the technical pencil just is like a pencil. And the streamline is obviously turned down, if you can tell. I like to just sketch out my projects with this before I really get started. So if I'm going to do banners, I might just even put that in. If I'm going to do a word inside a circle or another shape, I put that in really quickly. And that lets me know, like, if I sketch it out first, I know this is super rough, guys. Then I know about how much room I have for each letter when I'm going back later to add more detail. Okay, so that's it for the middle section of my blog post. We're getting close. The last 4 brushes on there are my pattern brushes that I use the most often. The first one is the Outline Leaves brush from Printable Haven. This makes it really simple to put letters inside a wreath. Sometimes I might make a pattern in the background with this by stamping it. Sometimes I just do a complete straight line across at the top. Oh goodness, that was at the top or bottom of my post. I don't know why that's doing it. I promise, guys, it doesn't usually do it. It's probably my iPad and not the brush, because I've never seen that happen before today. Of course, when you try to show other people is when problems appear. I've used that brush 100 times before and never seen that happen, so it's probably something on my iPad. Okay, let's see. The next brush is from Alexis Gentry again, back to her. It's my her Chevron brush. So you can use this as a stamp brush, but it's meant to create one seamless pattern. So if you just don't pick up your Apple Pencil at all, even one time during the whole thing, you can create a seamless pattern. If you do pick up your pencil and then start again, it'll go on top of itself. And so that's not usually what you want. Maybe you do for a certain project, but just make sure you don't pick up your Apple Pencil if you want that seamless pattern across the whole thing. Also, you can make that line smaller or bigger. Let's see. When it's too small, it's hard to... So, obviously that would take quite a while, but if you wanted a small chevron pattern across the whole thing, you could get it. So, 2 brushes left. One of them is the Line Rule and Dot Grid brushes by Alexis Gentry. I don't actually know if this is the one. The one I linked on my blog post is either this one, Quick Grid, Larger Dots, or it's very, very similar. So, I use this dot grid brush if I'm, do you see the grid that's in the background already during this whole video? If I'm wanting to do block letters where I want each letter to be exactly the same height as each other, or sometimes you could just use it if you wanted a polka dot pattern or things like that. And the last brush is actually the grid brush that has been featured in this entire video. It's in the background right now, and so you have to do the same thing as the chevron brush if you want it to be a seamless pattern. Don't pick up your Apple Pencil the whole time. So, and I believe that one comes native in the Procreate app as well. So, I hope that this video helped you guys make some decisions on which brushes are worth your time. If you liked the video, make sure to subscribe. Let me know in the comments if you plan to download any of these brushes or if you have any more questions for me. And lastly, if you download some of these brushes and need a way to practice your lettering, I do have my free 30 Days to Better Lettering ebook on my website. I'll also link it in the description below. That book would be a great way to practice using at least the first 5 brushes, the brush calligraphy brushes that I talked about today, but then some of those other ones, the shade brushes, would be good on that as well if you're wanting that kind of look. So that is it for today, guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!